card is a 9 of spade, he won't be able to beat me. It's very unlikely that all 4 of the 9 cards would appear in one round. At this critical moment, he still didn't look at his cards. Boss Tong received the expert's signal. Both of them thought to themselves, it's time to close the net. The expert said, our cards are not bad, let's fight for a decisive victory in one round. What do you think? 200 million, all in. Wu Chen also pushed out all his chips. Sure, let's do it. The atmosphere became tense. Li Rubing was also a little suspicious. She asked Wu Chen, a round of 200 million. Isn't this too risky? Li Rutai could only say, brother-in-law is still in a good mood, there shouldn't be a problem. Tong Guangjun and the expert both thought that Wu Chen had taken the bait. The expert said happily, okay, young man, don't regret it later. If you can't control your mentality, you won't be able to go far. The expert couldn't control himself. He drew a card, slammed it hard on the table and said, you don't even look at the card and dared to bet so much. Do you think you are a god of gambling? Consider the 200 million bet as tuition fees for your lesson. Li Rubing and Li Rutai both felt that it was over. Tong Guangjun was certain that he would win this time. Tong Guangjun couldn't help but mock, young Master Li, you have a lot of money, so what if you lose a little bit of money? Li Rutai could only grit his teeth and curse softly. Wu Chen, who had been watching the show all this time, finally spoke up, are you done talking? If you're done talking, then look at this yourself. Wu Chen gently placed his cards down. The expert couldn't control himself and snatched the card. This is, after he turned the card over, it turned out to be the 9 of spades. The expert couldn't help but exclaim, you looked at the card, impossible, when did you look at it? Wu Chen smiled slightly and said, how could I not look at the cards? Why do you think I put my hand on the cards every time since the first round? Of course, it was to flip them over and look at them when you weren't paying attention. You have poor skills and are too arrogant. Don't try to figure out my play style after just a few rounds. My movements are deliberate, and my habits are real. Did you ever think that all of that was just an act for you to see? I have been arranging this trap since the beginning. You are the prey in this round. The expert was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Li Rutai put his hand on Tong Guangjun's shoulder and said, Boss Tong, it seems that the person you brought here has brought you a lot of trouble. Tong Guangjun couldn't believe it. He stammered, how is that possible? The expert wanted to explain, but Boss Tong, but Tong Guangjun interrupted him, let's go. We'll talk when we get back. Suddenly, Wu Chen shouted, stop, who allowed you to leave? Tong Guangjun was not willing to give in. He replied, young Master Li, I've already lost. Why won't you let your guests leave? Your Li family's hospitality is really unique. Li Rutai turned to Wu Chen and asked, why won't you let them go? Wu Chen didn't answer right away. He looked at Li Rutai and said, wait a little bit and you'll know. Do you have a knife? Can I borrow it? Li Rutai remembered to ask, okay, do you know how to play it? Wu Chen showed off a few basic moves and asked Li Rutai, what do you think? Wu Chen walked towards the expert aggressively, grabbed his hand, and pulled hard. An ace of spades fell out of the expert's sleeve. Li Rutai was shocked. Wu Chen slowly said, in the 15th round, you deliberately hid an ace of spades in your sleeve as a trump card. Did you think I didn't see it? I didn't expose you right away because I hadn't won back the money yet. Li Rutai became furious. You dare to cheat me. Then, he turned to Tong Guangjun and questioned him, Boss Tong, how do you explain this? Tong Guangjun was sweating profusely as he looked at the expert. The expert only had time to say, it's all a misunderstanding. Wu Chen immediately stepped on the expert's foot, twisted his arm behind his back, and then grabbed one of his hands and pressed it down on the table. He said coldly, you broke the rules, do you know the consequences? Before anyone could react, Wu Chen lowered his hand. As he lowered it, he said, chop his hand off. The expert only had time to scream in pain, oh my hand. Wu Chen turned around and asked, Boss Tong, do you have anything to say? Tong Guangjun quickly denied it. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't tell him to do that. It was all his own idea. Wu Chen handed the knife back to Li Rutai. I'm going first. I'll leave the rest to you. Remember, don't hurt him in the casino. After leaving the room, Li Rubing asked Wu Chen, how does it feel to cut off someone's hand? Wu Chen only replied, nothing. Li Rubing asked doubtfully, nothing. Wu Chen replied lightly, it's not my hand, how would I feel anything? After saying that, Wu Chen walked straight out. Li Rubing was also surprised. She thought to herself, he cut off someone's hand without any hesitation and said that he didn't feel anything. This person must have killed before. Wu Chen and Li Rubing sat in a car together on their way back to the company. Li Rubing exclaimed, I didn't expect a financial intelligence officer like you to be so good at playing cards. Wu Chen turned to look at Li Rubing. It's just a small skill. Besides, the thank you fee can transfer it straight to my account. Li Rubing was at a loss for words. You only thought about money. Suddenly, Wu Chen leaned close to the car window. Li Rubing was surprised. What's wrong? Wu Chen leaned back and looked at Li Rubing. There are 2 cars following us, he said. The bodyguard also reported to Li Rubing, boss, the car behind us is indeed following us. Li Rubing ordered, find a way out of it. Li Rubing gritted his teeth. Damn Din Rulong, he actually sent someone to follow me. However, Wu Chen did not think so. He thought to himself, no, this person following us is not Din Rulong's. Their target is Li Rubing. Wu Chen held Li Rubing's hand. Don't worry, Rubing, I'm here. Li Rubing thought that Wu Chen was just trying to make her feel better. His skills are not bad. I was almost fooled too. Li Rubing pulled his hand away from Wu Chen. You must be hungry, right? You helped me today. Let me treat you to a meal today. Li Rubing took Wu Chen to a Western restaurant. Wu Chen spoke first. There must be many people who know you in this place. Aren't you afraid of them seeing me? Li Rubing replied, I want more people to know about you. At that moment, Hon Deli, the president and co-founder of Longchen Group, came over to say hello, Miss Li. What a coincidence. Are you also here to eat? Li Rubing looked up and replied, oh, President Hon, my boyfriend wanted to eat Western food, so I came with him. Wu Chen, this is Chairman Hon, the co-founder of Longchen Group. Hon Deli extended his hand to Wu Chen. It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Wu. You and Miss Li are a perfect match. Wu Chen shook Hon Deli's hand. Thank you, President Hon. You're too kind. Hon Deli looked at his watch and said, excuse me for disturbing your time together. My client is here. I left first. After Hon Deli left, Li Rubing said, Hon Deli is not a bad person. He's also the president of the Donghai Chamber of Commerce. Wu Chen said, you don't need to introduce him. I know him better than you do. Li Rubing replied unhappily, that's right. You're a financial intelligence officer. Wu Chen nodded in agreement, but not everyone wants to be friends with you. Li Rubing did not refute. Of course, I have many enemies, especially female ones. But it's the stupidest thing to be my enemy, isn't it? Wu Chen replied, that's true. Suddenly, a voice came from the side, isn't this Miss Li? What a coincidence. But Miss Li, since when did you start finding a cool boy? Looking at the woman, Wu Chen thought to himself, the speaker was Lu Xiu, whose real name was Liu Liyuan, 32 years old. 7 years ago, she married Lu Guannian and had a son. With the help of Lu Guannian, she founded the fashion design company Yangshu, which was a rival company of Li Rubing's. Liu Liyuan continued to taunt, Miss Li is 27 years old this year. This little guy looks like he's only in his early 20 years old. It seems that old cows like to eat tender grass. Li Rubing said slowly, Miss Liu, for the sake of Chairman Lu, I'll pretend that you're just joking. I hope you don't go too far. Liu Liyuan continued to say, what's wrong? You're already doing it, and now you are afraid of being talked about. Li Rubing was so angry that he wanted to throw his coffee at Liu Liyuan. I told you to shut up. Wu Chen reached out to stop her. Don't get agitated, leave it to me. Wu Chen walked over to Liu Liyuan. He thought as he stared at her. Liu Liyuan frowned. Why are you staring at me? Wu Chen replied, nothing, I just think you look familiar. I feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Wu Chen clapped his hands. Oh, I remember now. You must have worked in a nightclub before. Liu Liyuan slapped the table and said, you are the kind of person who works in a nightclub. Your whole family works in nightclubs. You dare to insult me. Do you know who I am? Wu Chen mocked her and said, insult. Do you think you can fool me by changing your appearance? Liu Liyuan thought to herself, How does this bastard know that I used to work in a nightclub and that I changed my appearance?